What an awesome song that was. I know breakthrough is coming. By faith, I see a miracle. And boy, have I seen some. I was once told that when you share your story, you should always start by introducing yourself and owning what you're going to say. So I'm going to start by introducing myself, but when I say, hi, I'm Michael, you've got to say, hi, Michael. Got it? I haven't done it yet. Hi, I'm Michael. I'm a recovering addict. There have been many challenges during my life's journey so far. However, along with the challenges, there have been many miracles. There have been many incredible victories and even more mind-blowing blessings. It all began when I was about 7 years of age. My mum and dad divorced, and at 7 I didn't understand what was going on, and I was totally oblivious to the fact that my dad was a drunk and that he was very violent towards my mother. So consequently, I and my brother spent a lot of time at my grandmother's place, as she lived just around the corner from us. And my nan, she's now in heaven, but she was the greatest supporter I've ever had in my life, apart from my wife. Good save. The greatest support I've had, in that even at my lowest times, she believed in me. And that's important to a young fella. I was bullied at primary school because I was the only kid in my class without a father. And there were a lot of horrible things said and done to make me feel pretty bad about my situation. There was another guy at our school that was bullied. He was about 8 or 9 at the time, and he actually took his own life. And I was aware of that, and I thought, I don't want to do anything like that, so I retaliated by becoming the bully. And I would fight with those that wanted to have a go at me. I'd verbally abuse them, and I'd just pick on someone and beat them up because I could. Mum was continually being harassed and taunted by my father and his girlfriend. So Mum decided it was time for us to move on. And we moved from a little place called Helensburgh, which is at the top of the Illawarra, and we moved to a place called Warilla, which is south of Wollongong, in the Shellharbour area. I hated the move. I was about to start high school, new school, no friends, basically start all over. Not a great experience. However, that's another story for another time. I got involved in the heavy rock industry as a drummer with a Wollongong band called Witch's Brew. Very, very good. In 1972 that was, and we were a support band to many of the top line 70s bands. We were on a rotation in the club and pub and concert venue scene around Newcastle, Sydney, Wollongong and Melbourne. After many years of turmoil, rock music, drug addiction, and never reaching my goal of being the rock star I dreamed I was, my life began to unravel very very quickly. In fact, on one occasion that I remember so clearly, and it's haunted me for years. We were playing at a bar in King's Cross in 1976. And it was very early in the morning, somewhere between 1 and 2 o'clock. We just finished our second set. And my good mate John, who was our bass player, stepped outside into the alley with me. We were both looking to shoot some heroin. John's hand was shaking so much, I injected him. As I did, I knew something was really wrong. John scored the hit from inside of some guy he didn't know in the bar. And as soon as I injected him, his eyes rolled back. He started convulsing and he was frothing at the mouth. I'm not sure of the events that took place or who called an ambulance. But by the time they got there, John was gone. I was holding his head in my arms. Then I became really scared. Because as I looked down, it wasn't John I saw there. It was me. And I thought, this is where my life is going. 2 years later, it was Easter 1978. Good Friday, to be exact. I started my long journey of recovery. Not by choice, but by divine intervention. That too is another story for another time. My life really started to turn around in 1979. I graduated from the Salvation Army drug rehab program at Morisset. It was called Miracle Haven, and it was a working dairy and piggery. I hated it. Absolutely hated it. They had an attitude buster there. Yeah, they had this thing that broke an attitude if you had one when you went in. You got to work in the piggery. And that, if you've ever been on a big farm and you've been in with the pigs, you can't get rid of the smell. Doesn't matter what you do. And I was told I'd be there as long as it took to break my attitude. I was in that program for 13 months. 13 months I never got out of the piggery. So I think there was something going on there. The journey through rehab is yet another story, because there's lots of things that happened during that time. On returning to Wollongong, I linked up with a youth ministry in Wollongong called the Hamburger Hut. Out of that came a lot of good Australian Christian musos, people like Steve Grace, Doug McFarlane, Peter Shirley, and so on and so on and so on. They were all part of that ministry. And I began to ask questions of the leaders and the youth in that place. I wanted to know about God. And I can remember saying to Ron Ross, who ran it, I rocked up at his place and I said to him, "Tell me about Jesus." And we must have had that same conversation 20 to 30 different times. I still didn't get it. But what really impressed me about that whole ministry was that in spite of what had happened in my life beforehand, I was accepted. I was appreciated for who I was, not how bad I'd been. I didn't really get any of what they were saying. I wasn't sure of my purpose on this earth. And I wasn't even sure I wanted to know what it was. The one thing I did do to celebrate my newfound freedom from drugs was I started a band. And it was called New Life. And we played at the Hamburger Hut and various other youth events around Wollongong. The other members of the band were all committed Christians, members of the Hamburger Hut. The only one that wasn't was the egotistical and very loud drummer. I left New Life and the Hamburger Hut late in 1979, and I began going to church with my mother at Port Kembla Salvation Army. It was there that I rekindled a one-sided schoolyard romance. I loved this girl named Christine. She loved to get as far away from me as she could. And as a result of that reconnection, we got married in November of 1980. We now have 5 children, 2 of whom came from Chris's first marriage. They were only toddlers at the time. They were actually flower girls at our wedding. So it wasn't real hard for me to love them as my very own girls, and still do. They're just wonderful girls. We've had 3 children together, and we now have 9 beautiful grandchildren, and we would have to tell you they are the most beautiful grandchildren you've ever seen. During the longevity of our marriage, there have been times in which we've experienced so many different emotions and life experience, like joy, pain, hardship, frustration. But out of all that, the greatest blessing of all is the deep love that we have for one another. We're now senior citizens. Finding life is now presenting more challenges than we could have imagined. However, we have a great sense of satisfaction in seeing the success of our children, the success and achievements of their children and their families. We have the humility as we delight in the progress and the milestones of our grandchildren. Today, we're confronted by my health issues, which are changing every day and have caused a lot of angst at times, but we know God's in the middle of everything that's happening. My entire life could be summed up in some words penned by Bill and Gloria Gaither. These are the words to a verse. If there ever were dreams that were lofty and noble, they were my dreams at the start. And hope for life's best were the hopes that I harboured down deep in my heart. But my dreams turned to ashes, my castles all crumbled, my fortune turned to loss. So I wrapped it all in the rags of my life, and I laid it at the cross. You might know the chorus. It goes, something beautiful, something good. All my confusion, he understood. I'm going to personalise this next line. All I had to offer him was my brokenness, my strife. But he made something beautiful of my life. And if I can just finish with this thought. Life is all about relationships. The relationship I have with God, with my wife, my children, my grandchildren, my extended family, my friends, my pastors, my church family, and so on. The most important thing for me in maintaining healthy, fruitful relationships is every relationship needs to be a triune relationship. Therefore, if we put God in the centre of our relationships, we will learn very quickly the closer we grow to God, the closer we grow together. I started by introducing myself as it was suggested I should. Let me now introduce myself the way I believe I should. Hi, I'm Michael. I'm a sinner saved by grace.